Greetings, it's your buddy, your pal, your friend, your teacher, your guide, the big brother, the daddy, the uncle you never had. Artist Benjamin Whitmore. This is the MACK Manual Audio Experience. And being a Mac is a man of aptitude, charm, and knowledge. Notice I did not say anything about the devil's trickery and sorcery that is called tricking. When I was growing up, I'm an 80s baby. When I was growing up and when I was first exposed to the game, to the rules of the game, to the environment, just out being outside, there were a few cardinal sins. One of the cardinal sins was thou shalt not trick. It just, yeah, it just what like you just didn't trick, dog. Like I talked about this before. Uh, the more means and resources you have, the more willing you are to be charitable, to share. You know, it's funny that women, the biggest players that I know, women want to know. Again, going back to how things used to be. Women wanted to know that you had money, but they knew that they couldn't just get it about you. Now, women just want sugar daddies. It's funny, man. These women really don't even realize that nowadays. They realize whores and prostitutes is the way they putting themselves out there. Uh, Women is always talking about a man paying their bills, buying them Birkin bags, whatever the fuck, whatever that is. I don't know nothing about none of that. I don't do designer. I don't, and I'm player, and I dress. And I like nice shit, but I just don't do it. I just don't do it. I just can't do it. That's a whole nother topic too. Another thing. You know, I know some people are very conspicuous and outlandish with the with all that. It's just not me. It's just not me. But anyway, uh, yeah, man, is women really are induced and seduced by this spirit of pampering, of being catered to. It's sugar daddy. It's just what the females say nowadays. It's giving. It's giving sugar daddy and sugar baby vibes. That's all I see is posted. Is really just embodies and encompasses the spirit of tricking, which was at one time in the game was just a no. Women didn't respect tricks at all. They still don't, but now tricks are from all appearances, tricks look like they win. It just is, everything is flipped upside his head nowadays. Snitching is not like it used to be. When what a snitch when I was growing up, a snitch. Come on, bro. Mm-mm. Like it was just something that just didn't even. Some things just never did, and it wasn't even. These things weren't just expressly stated. It was just felt and known. You didn't trick. You don't trick unless you get to be an old sugar daddy type. When you get to be an old nigga with money and don't have your catch hand, which I don't believe in. I don't. But that's what we were shown. 50 and 60 and 70 looked different back then. In the 80s and the 90s, it just looked different. Okay, you was already on your way out. Black men didn't live long that. Now things are different. Now 60, 50, 60, 70, even 80, that looks different nowadays. And it gives you something to look forward to where you don't have to just decline. You can still, you ain't got to be an old trick. You can be an old Mac. That's what I plan on being. But anyway, uh, that's the only time you got the pass, you got the exception. When you're an old player, you're an old trick, you know. That young trick now, you was getting roasted for that. You was getting exiled, castigated, outcast for that. Same thing with snitching. But everything now is flipped on side his head, you know. And that doesn't mean that you waver from the foundations and the principles that were set forth long ago. Because in the fullness of time, principles are principles because they always apply. Now there's always going to be temporary detours in we how we use these principles, or how we view these principles, or how these principles play themselves out in society. But society, mankind, always has a way of reverting back to basics, to principles, to patterns, because again, principles are principles because they always apply. And it's just a principle that thou shalt not trick. And because that's not a foundation of a real relationship. Relationship is about sacrifice. Okay. And usually in an ideal relationship, the woman is going to make the biggest sacrifice. Think about it. She's the one usually who is going to give up her name. She's going to a lot of times give up her career. She's going to give up her body. She's going to give herself to a man. That is a natural reason for resistance for anybody to give up, right? To give it up. But men, we have a sacrifice too. We have a sacrifice too when we get into a relationship, and women intuitively understand that. In the traditional sense, a woman would understand the sacrifice that a man makes, and it's a mutual sacrifice. But and it's just understood that we have a greater goal. And when it comes to tricking, the goal is to just adorn this woman with all the accoutrements and the trinkets of your labor. That's not a recipe for reciprocity, for a real relationship, a solid relationship. And women need to be understanding of this, because again, like I was going back to, I was saying, women, there was a time that women loved being around. Women will always love a man with resources. But ideally, she should know that you are a man of means, whatever that means for you. Everybody's playing at different levels, but as long as you're playing at the best level that you can right now at this moment. And if you aren't, let me always take things back to basics. If you don't have your quote unquote shit together, then you do not qualify for a woman. You don't. And this really pertains to men who are, I'd say 25 and over. 20, 21, I'd say anywhere from 16, 17 when you really start, kind of trying to date and getting out there with women. 17, 18, up to 23, 24. That's really your grace period when you can just be a young, broke cockhound. And you can get away with that. I can give you a pass for that. If you just a young nigga and you ain't got shit for you, really ain't got. I would discourage it, because I can see what you can't see. Okay, nobody told me that it was inefficient, unproductive for me to be a young cockhound. But then again, I was a young gigolo. Okay, so by definition, I didn't define myself. I didn't see myself in that way. But You know, I was a young gigolo, so I was, uh, I called myself a pimp, and I did have pimp situations, but again, talk about that another time. But for the most part, I was a Mac gigolo type nigga. I wanted to just fuck, and if I could get some extra benefits out of that, which I was going to push for, if a bitch took me shopping, if I get to fuck, and then we wake up in the morning, and we go shopping, or she take me out to dinner, I don't have to come out of pocket. I wasn't going to come out of pocket. I just wasn't. First of all, I didn't have much. And the little I had, I was gonna hold on to. I just could not. I just couldn't trick, dog. I just couldn't. And once I did start making some money, I just couldn't trick. Just couldn't do it. Now, the rare exception, and I would even feel convicted about this. Um, Rare exception I can remember when I worked at the call center. Every night, I had my truck. I had a nice truck. I was doing it at that time. Young Mac. I was doing it, man. I had them coming and going, dog. I had a couple of different spots. Money was good, hustles was good, young and fresh. Come on, man. It was a good time. Good to reflect on. But the rare exception of something that even would creep into trick territory was whenever I was a trainer at this time, and so uh, when we were let out for lunch, everybody, we pretty much all filing down to the exit together. So they see me getting my trainees, which you was not supposed to mess with, of course, conflict of interest. But every new training class, I'm fucking everything that was coming in there. But anyway, uh, they see me getting in my truck and then whatever, and they, hey, where you going? Where you going? I'm like, man, I'm going to get something to eat. You want something? I might be like, you want something? And even then, I feel a little convicted, but I might have might have, hit a lick or something. Might have a few extra ends in my pocket and feel a little generous. You want something? Get her something. Stuff like that. Shit like that. I can remember that. Yeah, I can remember a few times doing that, and even feeling convicted about that. About damn, am I tricking? But nowadays it's just full fledged. Again, sorcery, and it's disturbing because you're not even reaping. A lot of guys are not even reaping these benefits, and they not even realize what role they playing in these females' lives. And but women again, they have to take that responsibility because what do you really place value on? Are you just placing value on the material shit, or do you really place value on a real relationship of sacrifice, compromise, uh, equity? People, we both are deserving of attention and love. Everything that is a real foundation for love, not just what you can do for me monetarily, material wise. But men have to always remember you are what you attract what you are. So if you find yourself and women always coming at you sideways with this trickery, what are you putting out there? What are you putting out? What are you leading with? What type of value do you lead with? Again, women would love to be around men who have means. I got back to this point because I got off subject. How if you don't have shit, if you don't have your shit together, you shouldn't be actively seeking women. Especially again, I got off track. A young cockhound can get away with it. A 30-year-old man still trying to fuck everything and really don't have much. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. You ain't got your shit together all the way. Women should not be. You should not even look at women. And I mean that. Because you don't qualify, sir. You don't. Put your head down and get on your grind. Get your shit. Get a piece of a shit. You ain't got to get it all of it. But just get a piece of a shit to where you can feel some type of comfort. At least have something. Have something. Have a goddamn address of your own. Have a working, decent vehicle. By the time you get to be 30 and if you single, you ain't got no kids, you should 30, 35, you should have a piece of a vehicle, goddammit. a fucking motorcycle, you know, something reliable, you know. And I've driven buckets, I've driven, you know, but shit, it's a sacrifice. I got a family and shit, so but you know, now I got a nice little luxury car, but them motherfuckers ain't about damn, because when they break, the motherfuckers expensive too. Everything fucking breaks, man. So shit. Anyway, don't let me get what they say. Your biggest hater can be your ride. But anyway, once you do qualify, okay, let's go back to this. Once you qualify, once you got a piece of a shit together, right? Women will be attracted to that. That doesn't mean that you should expend those resources just for women. They want to know that you have it because whether they realize it or not, it's not about the money. It's what that represents. Okay? At least at least this was the way it used to be when again, when I was young and observed the men that I admire, and it used to be, man, men raise men. I was so blessed and fortunate to have a village. Now, in addition to my pops was totally different than any of the other men. And my pops was my hero. I admired him, but I understood very early my pops is totally different than quote unquote average man, and that's what I liked about him. You don't have to be. So I took a lot from him being who he was. He's a man. He was a man of the cloth. But even beyond being a preacher, because there were so many other preachers that I seen that fit that stereotypical profile of being slick and all that shit. My pops was straight laced square, you know. But he was cool. He's cool. He is cool. You know, he's still alive, thank God. As of the time of this recording, he's still alive. He's cool. You know, he's just different. I can't even really explain. My pops is just different. He just don't move like other men. He's not into those other things. He's only been with one woman, my mom. So in that area, he's just, you know, we can't talk about those things. He admires women. He loves women. He's a red-blooded man. But he's just different, you know. He didn't run streets. He was in the streets, but just had a different mission, you know, witnessing to guys, stuff like that. And that's how I kind of got my street cred or whatever the fuck that means. Just being around, being known by as Rev, Pastor Son, you know. And then my best friend was a project baby, and just being around, you know. So I got to see him and see others in these environments, okay? And my pops was my hero, but he wasn't the only man I admired. I admired other men who fit different profiles, of maybe fit a profile of you know, I had one of my mentors was a pimp, a real live former pimp, um, all types of guys. Anyway, the ones who were able to, um, and it was so much more of them out there at that time. You know, men raise men, and I'm blessed to have that village. The men who had it, who I admired as Max as players, is just, you know, just men just knew how to conduct themselves. Women were attracted to that because of what it meant. They were attracted not because they were tricking, but because of what the feeling that they could get, the energy that they gave off, and the feeling that a woman could be truly feminine. A woman can be truly feminine around a man who has who knows how to handle business, who knows how to conduct himself. All of these traits, all these qualities are what it takes to be a man of means. Now, you can stumble into some shit. I recognize that. But most, by and large, to be consistent and to build up some equity in life, that inevitably will reveal some character traits, some behaviors that women will be attracted to. A woman in her true feminine nature will be attracted to. A lot of times, again, so many women operate unconsciously. People in general operate unconsciously, but women more so. I find it just my observation. You know, women just operate in these unconscious behaviors that they really never take the time to dissect and understand. Men do so to a lesser extent. I've observed way more men that are understanding of why they do what they do, how they do it, when they do it, just how they operate, who are more understanding, more aware, and are able to course correct more adeptly than women. I see that way more often. It just is what it is. And that's why it's, man, when you get around a quote unquote, a so called woke woman that really understands herself, understands her body, understands her ebbs and flows, man, look, that could be dangerous, man. But that might be one that's them the ones. But anyway, I'm just over here talking though, man. I'm just trying to shed some light on the spirit of tricking. Of course, I talked about before. Female nature. Understand that being a man of means something, but it doesn't mean that you have to play sugar daddy. And the moral of the story is, like I always say, man, just be a constant work on yourself, and don't make women such a preoccupation, man. You don't have to. Like they will, you attract what you are inevitably. You have to trust that. There's a. That's why so many. That's why you see so many pimps that have a spiritual side to them. It can seem contradictory to those who don't understand, but because when you are spiritual, you have a when you're able to tap into, you have a connection to the unseen forces. There's a detachment, there's a release that happens in your spirit because there's an understanding that you can only control what you can control. That's why it's so and that's why it's so easy to be so cool, so laid back, because there's an understanding that, like, I'm not in control. Ultimately, I'm not in control of a bitch. I'm not in control of these niggas out here. All I can control is me, myself, my actions, my reactions. That's But anyway, it's your buddy, your pal, your friend, your teacher, your guide, Uncle Artist. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit me up for consultations. Peace and blessings. Sayonara, hashataki, benvenido. Take care.